Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Jan Roller, and I am president of the club. Have you noticed more people picking up items in grocery stores and checking the label for the calorie count or the amount of grams of sugar or saturated fats? I have, and I think it's safe to say that this phenomenon has been brought about in large part by our speaker today, Michael Jacobson, and the Center for Science in the Public Interest, where he serves as executive director. CSPI is a consumer advocacy organization whose twin missions are to conduct innovative research and advocacy programs in health and nutrition, and to provide consumers with current, useful information about their health and well-being. In its quest to bring about changes in American eating habits, CSPI testifies at congressional food safety hearings and works with members of Congress to write legislation. It collaborates with industry and consumer groups to advocate for increased food safety funding. And in 2004, it turned to the courts to help correct corporate misbehavior. It created a litigation department because it felt that the FDA, the FTC, and the USDA were not carrying out their duties for consumer protection. Since then, CSPI has brought or joined in many lawsuits against leading food and drink manufacturers such as Gerber, Sara Lee, Burger King, Denny's, Red Bull, Kellogg, and Quaker Oats for misleading advertising or unhealthy food content. Mr. Jacobson holds a Ph.D. in microbiology from MIT and co-founded CSPI in 1971. He is known as a national leader in the food safety movement to require nutrition labels on all foods and most beverages to help consumers make informed decisions about what to consume. He is credited with coining the now widely used phrases junk food and empty calorie. He has described soda, or pop as we like to call it in the Midwest, the quintessential junk food, just sugars and no nutrients. He'd like to see higher taxes on unhealthy foods, a greater use of warning labels on food and beverage packaging, and restrictions on advertising and the selling of junk foods. And I'd like to tell you he has approved the content of what we ate here today for lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium Mr. Michael Jacobson.
Thank you very much, Jan, and for that generous introduction. And thank you, Susan Alcorn and Jim Foster, for bringing me here today. Well, we approved the lunch, but we're not going to go one step further and accompany you home and check out your refrigerators, if that gives you some relief. It's great to be in Cleveland. I haven't been here in quite a long time. And it's exciting to see the urban food system that you folks are developing. Farmers markets, community-supported agriculture, urban gardens everywhere. I heard more than 200 urban gardens, which is really quite an interesting development. And then I had a chance to visit the Cleveland Clinic, which is such an extraordinary local and increasingly national institution. That just knocked my socks off with all the things they're doing in terms of using lifestyle changes to treat diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and a number of other conditions. And they've made a great effort to improve the nutritional quality of the foods sold at the cafeteria and some of the shops in the hospitals at the Cleveland Clinic. Which is quite an extraordinary effort. I understand they still have about 15 years before they can get rid of the McDonald's on their in their food court area. And I was walking around. I only saw one example of deceptive labeling at the Cleveland Clinic, where they had on the menu board, not McDonald's, but another place, it said French fries. And of course, they weren't fried. They were baked, French fry-shaped potatoes, and good for them for that little bit of deception. As Jan alluded to, CSPI isn't shy about harping on the problems. about how junky some foods are, we labeled fettuccine Alfredo heart attack on a plate and called movie theater popcorn the Godzilla of snack foods because of all the calories and the saturated fat in it. But today, I'm not coming here as a doomsayer, but at a time of great optimism, I want to talk about some of the developments that are occurring at the local, state, and especially the national level. And it's a very unusual kind of a talk for me to give because for the past endless years, I've talked about the problems and how industry is fighting, resisting, solving those problems every step of the way, how the bureaucrats are totally uncooperative, disinterested in improving the quality of the American food supply, how health professionals, from doctors to dietitians, were often on the other side. But things are changing, and what I want to talk about is briefly several of the reasons why things are changing, and then give you some examples of what's happening with legislation and other activities. The underlying development, I think, probably the most important thing, is the advance of science. I got involved in food and nutrition issues 40 years ago, so around 1970, there was very little agreement that diet affected health. The government's mantra was all foods are good foods, just eat a variety of foods. And from the basic four, meat and grains and dairy products and fruits and vegetables. And so people were happily chomping on their hot dog on a white bun, potato chips, and some ice cream to get the basic four. That was approved, government approved. The dietitians, their mantra was balance, variety, and moderation. So it could be a Big Mac for lunch and then a steak for dinner. For breakfast, maybe an Egg McMuffin sandwich. And that was kind of the conventional wisdom. And the medical community poo-pooed the whole thing. If you get sick, go to a doctor. The doctor will cure you. But over the years, I mean, back then even, there was a huge amount of evidence that diet affected disease. Now, and this is the brief nutrition message, there's tremendous evidence that diet is a major contributor to many of our chronic diseases. With saturated fat and trans fat in particular being causes of atherosclerosis, clogging of the arteries, and heart disease. That too much salt, which every one of us consumes, I dare say, contributes to high blood pressure, which 90% of us will develop by the time we're 70, 80, 90 years old. Sugar has long been known as a cause of tooth decay, and in more recent years, it's been seen as a major cause of obesity, especially when consumed in the form of soda pop. 17 teaspoons of sugar in a 20-ounce bottle of soda pop. The Department of Agriculture and Heart Association are recommending something like 6 to 8 teaspoons of sugar in a good diet per day. So those are a few of the sugar, fat, salt, and then the lack of good stuff. Fruits and vegetables, which contain a wide variety of nutrients, can actually promote health, kind of the opposite side of the scale. The dietary fiber and all the minerals and vitamins in whole grains that get removed and fed to pigs when the industry is providing refined grains, white flour, white rice, and so on. And